The Lord is my shepherd. So began our nightly ritual when I was growing up. It began with reciting the 23rd Psalm, prayers for family and friends, and then closing with the Lord's Prayer. As such, this piece of scripture has always been at the heart of my faith life. And it is a place where I go particularly when I find myself in times of trouble and darkness. There is something about the words and the pictures that it conjures up that brings peace and calm. Over the course of these last few weeks, it has come to the forefront of my life more often than not. And in particular, in the 3 funerals that I have presided over in this time. That line, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, has struck with particular poignancy. For many days, it has felt like we are living in the valley of the shadow of death. Not only in sorrow, but in fear, in worry, in loss, in confusion, in pain, in hunger and want. More times than not, I was reminded that even in this dark place, the shepherd reigns and continues to care for his sheep. The 23rd Psalm has had an interesting history. It was written particularly in the time of the monarchy as a job description for the king, who was to be the shepherd of the sheep and provide for his people's needs. When the kings of Israel failed to uphold their job, particularly in the time of the exile, God steps in and becomes the shepherd. And so the psalm then becomes associated with him. It is not surprising then that in the early days of Christianity, as they were trying to make sense out of who this Jesus was, that they chose this psalm to reflect what they had heard from Jesus, particularly those parables about the sheep and those wonderful lines from John's Gospel about Jesus as the Good Shepherd. Today, that psalm is associated with Jesus, the Good Shepherd, the model shepherd, the one who continues to provide for his sheep even in the midst of these dark and confusing times. He continues to gather us around the still waters of life in our baptismal journey and sets before us a table of bread and wine, body and blood, that we may be sustained in our weariness and have our joy restored. He continues to provide for our needs and watches over particularly those who are most vulnerable. And as always, continues to seek out the lost and bring them home. Whether it is the King James Version of the psalm or more recent translations, these words bring us comfort and hope, strength and confidence in the midst of times like these. I invite you, as I share my favorite version of the psalm these days, to let the pictures wash over you, that you may find hope and peace. The King of love, my shepherd is, whose goodness faileth never. I know nothing lack if I am his, and he is mine forever. Where streams of living water flow, my ransom soul he leadeth, and where the verdant pastures grow, with food celestial feedeth. Perverse and foolish oft I strayed, but yet in love he sought me, and on his shoulder gently laid, and home rejoicing brought me. In death's dark vale I fear no ill, with thee, dear Lord, beside me. Thy rod and staff my comfort still, thy cross before to guide me. Thou spreadst a table in my sight, thine unction grace bestoweth, and oh, what transport of delight from thy pure chalice floweth. And so through all the length of days, thy goodness faileth never. Good Shepherd, may I sing